Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, the Federal Reserve has a secret agenda? We know the Federal Reserve has a major influence over the price of gold and silver, and we've suffered lately, right? We also know the mainstream narrative about the Fed, their charter, which is to control inflation and keep employment numbers great. And then there's the other narrative, always kind of embraced by the gold bugs and the cryptocurrency people, that the Fed is up a creek without a paddle, they've printed too much money, we're in a death spiral, blah, blah, blah. But we're looking at it in an A-B black or white fashion. Is there a plan C, another agenda that maybe none of us are thinking about that's going on behind the scenes? In this video, I want to explore that topic because this is big stuff. The Fed affects the price of gold and silver. And I don't know about you, but to me, that's a big, big deal because I love gold and silver and the precious metal mining stocks. We also want to explore what can happen later this week when on Wednesday, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve will announce their decision on interest rate hikes. And finally, a little bonus feature. I'm going to give you some little known facts about the Federal Reserve. We got a lot to talk about. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started right now. I'm sure you know the Federal and Federal Reserve is no more federal than the Federal and Federal Express. It's a privately owned bank. And despite numerous invitations that I've extended to our friend Jerome Powell, he never shows up and leaves me here with the bear. But most importantly, he leaves me here with you. I appreciate you joining me right now from wherever in the world you're joining me. If you like to dig a little deeper, and then dig even a little more deeper, hopefully my videos appeal to you. I hope you get some value from this content because you are always welcome here. I honor and value your time and the fact that you decided to join me. You can subscribe right here. Now let's talk about what's going to happen this week when the Federal Reserve announces their 3/4 point interest rate hike. And that's pretty much a given that it's going to be 0.75%. That's not the important part. The important part is how they communicate. There's a lot of speculation that we're going to get some communication from the Fed that maybe in December they're going to start to reevaluate things. That would signal an end of this aggressive, hawkish pendulum that's been swinging, and then swinging more, and then swinging a little more. And if that stops and starts to swing back the other way, or even just stops, that could be really great for our friends, silver and gold. And we've suffered a lot, right, guys? It's been a rough year and a half. We're ready for Jerome to stop that pendulum from swinging and maybe give us a little break. We'll see how it plays out. Now, there's a chance that they could raise by 1%. That would be bad. Lights out, okay? I'm turning the lights out here in the basement if that's the fact, because gold and silver will react very negatively to that. There's also a chance that they could only raise by 0.5%. I am not banking on that by any stretch of the imagination. It looks like it's going to be 0.75. That's the bottom line. The important part is how they communicate. You want to hear about this possible secret agenda of the Federal Reserve? Not the mainstream, not the gold bug, but the third option nobody talks about. We're going to get to that right now. If you want to get notified every time I put a new video, find the bell. There's a little bell icon somewhere on your screen. Press the bell. That way you won't miss a video. You'll get alerted every time I put out something new. So we know the mainstream. We know the official narrative of the Federal Reserve. Control inflation. Keep employment numbers high. We know what the gold bugs and the crypto people say. The laws of mathematics must hold. There is so much debt. We're in a debt doom loop. I agree with that, by the way. But what about a third narrative? What if they're actually up to something else? What makes me a little suspicious is the radical, aggressive move they've made in the last year or so, and the fact that at the same time, We have major geopolitical issues going on throughout the world. The world is splitting, guys. You know, they don't report this on Good Morning America, right? You don't see it when you flip on the news at 6 o'clock in the morning. But if you dig in and read between the lines and read a varied sources of information, the East and the West are splitting, probably even worse than what we saw during the Cold War when I was a little boy during the 80s. And does it make sense to you that all this debt in the world, $300 trillion, and on top of that, like 2 quadrillion, which is like 7 times more in derivative contracts between the banks, that all this stuff eventually has to blow up? Debt is debt. I mean, if you owe, that money's owed. Somebody is expecting that money. And if mathematically the world can't pay it back, maybe the plan C, with the wars going on, both traditional and economic, and all this debt and all this, maybe it all has to do with some kind of great reset. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me in the comments section below. Is there more going on than even the average gold bug or crypto bug realizes? And how will gold and silver fare? Now, I think gold and silver, all the precious metals, will do very, very well, no matter what happens, because look, they've been around for thousands and thousands of years. They've been through all these types of shenanigans before. So whatever the Fed's up to, whatever the powers that be may be up to behind the curtain, right? Like the Wizard of Oz, when it does get exposed, which eventually it will, Mother Nature always wins. Mathematics show no forgiveness on the altar of truth. I mean, and hasn't it become a big illusion, smoke and mirror, unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it, show between the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department? They're doing all kinds of goofy things, sending money over to Switzerland. We've got Janet Yellen talking about the Treasury buying treasuries from them. I don't know, it makes no sense, right? It's all a bunch of illusion, right? You know, and I was at a magic show a couple weeks ago here at Six Flags in St. Louis. Illusions can look very real, but the reality is that there's actual facts that are going on, right? That lady did not get cut in half. And eventually, the reality is going to sink in with the Federal Reserve, all the debt, everything else, and it's all going to be exposed. Now, when that happens, again, what do we want? We want to be safe. We want to be secure. Number one, we got to take care of ourselves. Close number two, our families. We choose gold and silver as an avenue to provide insurance. Again, it's worked for thousands and thousands of years. Most likely, it will continue to work. And why would we ever be suspicious of the Federal Reserve? Well, they are a privately owned bank, right? Remember, the Federal and Federal Reserve is no more federal than the Federal and Federal Express. They've operated in secrecy since they were formed. Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen, and now Jerome Powell, they've all lied. It's been proven over the years, lied or been dead wrong. Either they're not telling the truth a lot of the times, or they're just not very smart. And you would think that these guys with a army of economists and access to the best data in the world would know what they're talking about. Why would we trust them? And do you agree that you only have to dig a few feet deep to realize that these guys have orchestrated one of the biggest financial, monetary mismanagements and frauds in the history of the world? They don't like gold and silver. We should have listened to Andrew Jackson. He warned us about this. Our founding fathers said, keep the money based on gold and silver. And in 1971, when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, well, how has that worked out? Well, the dollar's only lost 95% of its value. Look, however all this plays out, I feel comfortable with gold and silver. Realize, I don't have a crystal ball, okay? I'm just sharing my opinion with you one-on-one from wherever in the world you are. It's just me and you right here in the basement. I appreciate you joining me. I hope you're well, and I'll see you next time.